It is 8 o'clock. I will call our meeting to order. We will start the meeting today by honoring our country with the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda today is Mr. Lauber from the Bowen Center, please. If you would, please, as you come forward, just introduce yourself in case I pronounced your name wrong and tell us who you're with for.
Mista Lauber from the Bowen Center. I'm the director here. Thanks for having me today. I have some handouts for you all. There is a second paper that describes our funding from the county. I want to make sure that you have that today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jana, do you want one?
Thank you.
Sure. Rich, did you want one?
Sure.
So there's just a message there from what we've been doing at Bowen Center over the past year. As most of you know, over the past 2 years, we've really been working to get out in the community, make sure that people are aware of the services that we provide, and then also work closely with our community partners. As we all know, working as a team together is going to give us the best outcome possible. So we've really been working to forge those relationships with our community partners, had a lot of success over the past year. And so just wanted to come and kind of give you some more information of the services that we provide. We have 3 main services. We offer a lot more. However, the services that people typically come for are our therapy services, our case management services, which are out in the community, which is about 80% of the services that we do are all out in the community, in the schools, in patient homes, working with DCS in foster care, also going to doctor's appointments with them, just kind of meeting them where they need us to meet them to get the best outcome for their treatment. We also offer psychological services and psychiatry services. So we have medication. You guys have any questions, Thor?
I don't have any.
Seen us in action.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I'm not sure. There may be other questions here, though.
Have you seen an increase in need since COVID?
In what? Sorry.
Have you seen an increase of need?
Oh,
since
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. The great thing that Bowen Center was allowed to do during this time was to provide telephonic services. So it took away a lot of the stigma that people feel in getting help. And so they could simply pick up a phone, have an intake over the phone, and we could provide therapy services to them all via telephone or video too, if they chose to do video. So I think that was a huge win for us, well, for mental health services in general, to at least give people a window of time where they could see what services were all about, what therapy is all about. And yeah, we saw a huge increase in that. With children, it was a little bit more difficult. We still offered it, but to keep a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old on the phone for that long was a little bit difficult, but we tried. And as time went on, we definitely got better at providing that service, and they understood, that they had to stay on the phone. So, yeah.
Your sheet talks about total free care provided.
Yes,
Does that mean you're not reimbursed by anybody, Medicaid or anything?
correct. Yep. So for the funding that you give us, we take that and turn it into the $1 you give us, turn it into $3 in free care for those who qualify. So we have a chart that we use that looks at their income, and from that we can decide through Jay's department. Jay's our CFO. They decide if people qualify for the free services.
And I think it indicates that about 6% of the community has been served by Bowen Center in the last year. What percentage of that would be those that are unable to pay?
It's a pretty small percentage. Yeah, my name is Jay Conrad, I'm Senior VP of Finance at Bowen Center. It's actually a pretty small percentage now. The state of Indiana's been really good with the expanded HIP program. And so a lot of time when a patient comes in self-pay, we have a navigator, we call them on site, that work with getting them enrolled into a Medicaid program, which gets them a payer source. So it really has dropped over the last 5 years or so, the amount of actual self-pay patients we actually have.
Is the psychiatrist available in Whitley County on a regular basis? Okay. Physician from elsewhere, but comes here on.
That's one of the things we really strive to bring them to the community. Places don't do that. They can go to where they are. Transportation is such a huge issue.
In fact, our nurse practitioner actually lives in Columbia City, so that's pretty awesome to have someone really local that is invested in the community.
Guess I have one more question.
Okay, go for it.
We're seeing nationally a lot of movement toward trying to bring mental health service assistance to our police officers at crisis moments in the community. You know, if it's a domestic or lots of other situations where it's clearly a mental health concern. Is Bowen Center in general beginning to put together a plan to support those types of activities?
Yep, absolutely. We have an employee assistance plan already with Whitley County government. And so any sheriff or any member could come to us. But then also we have, we're working with Carly right now, actually from the health department, Carly LaRue, in forming an actual team that assists after crisis for fire, for police.
I'm sorry, that's great information. I think I wasn't clear.
Okay, sorry.
Is there consideration or work being done by Bowen Center, at least generally, on having personnel available to assist the officers when they're out on a crisis call? It's a mental health issue.
No, we do not have anyone that goes out on a call. Yeah.
So I would just kind of suggest the organization should start considering that as services available.
Good feedback. Thank you.
Usually about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Can we call you, John? You can come help us.
No, I'm retired, call for.
Okay.
Oh, might be me calling you.
Okay, that can happen too. Yeah, yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Mhm.
JDAI transfer request, Jen Christie, please.
I'm Jen Christie, I'm the JDI coordinator with Lindsey. We're just requesting to move some money around. We had a lot of money left over. Due to COVID, we were gonna have a speaker come and speak to all of the teachers, but we felt that we couldn't do that. So we're just moving money within the grant. I think it's about $5,000 we're moving from the speaker, and then for all of our meetings that we didn't have to give to Miami Village, My Plate Monday, which teaches all the people within Miami Village how to use nutrition and stuff and feed the kids while they're there. And then the center for Whitley County needs some money for some supplies. They need some desks, some lounge furniture for at their facilities, and then they're gonna have goodie bags for all the juveniles that go to their facilities.
Jen, I'm seeing 3 transfer requests here. I think 2 of them were actually presented to us in the packet. And then one of them, I think we can probably still address today, so you don't have to come back for it next month. But the numbers I'm seeing here are significantly higher than $3,000. I'm seeing one for $3,178.44. I'm seeing one for $2,783.67. And then the third one has two different transfers from services, one from supplies, one from services, to two different categories, one for $1,779.94 and one for $3,482.64. Are we talking about all the same transfers here? Those,
Yes,
is that
those
right?
are all going to the My Plate Monday and then the center. It's all the money that we already have. We're just rearranging it into different categories within the grant. Lindsay did all this, which is why I'm not real sure on the actual numbers. But yeah, the state doesn't like us to have money left over, because then if we give money back to the state, they say that they're not gonna have the funding for next year. So we just moved it around so that we don't have money left over at the end of the grant year. So all of that is actually going to the My Plate Monday and the center.
But I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing, because I'm just rough math here. I'm coming up with about $12,000 that we're transferring. Is
Yeah,
that
and I have all of that as well.
okay? And for council's information, the one that's not in front of you would be one being a request to transfer from services, $2,783.67 to equipment. Again, all going towards the same services as the other two, but coming out of a different line item in their budget with that. So you've got the two in front of you, and then an additional one for $2,783.67.
Being a member of the JDAI on it, they also have a committee stakeholders that approve this. So I'm going to make the motion that we approve all 4 transfer resolutions, correct?
There are 3 transfer resolutions. There are 4 transactions, because there's 2 on
4
one.
transactions,
Yes,
3 resolutions.
yes.
Make the motion we approve.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all board members that were present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon Forrester, please.
Good morning, Brandon Forster, County Engineer. I am here today. I know you just received your budget binders, but basically what I'm asking for is a verbal commitment to funding for equipment from the local road and street fund for equipment. What was approved for 2021 was 300,000. What's proposed for 2022 is 300,000. And our intent is to take bids for 2 tandem dump trucks. And you can see this is a 5-year plan that we prepared in 2019. In 2019 and 20, we did the same thing with single axle trucks. Bought 2 at the same time. The advantage of that is they're sister trucks, and trucks change so much from year to year that if you can get 2 to use the same parts, it's a small advantage. But the plan was to buy for the next 2 years 2 tandems anyway. So again, if we can get your verbal approval for that item for budgeting, then we can go ahead and bid 2.
What's the lead time on those, Brandon?
Yeah, about 2 or 3 months ago, they said 2 or 3 months, and now it's more like 4 or 5. And that's for the chassis. My plan was to buy the chassis this year, and then the underbody and bed and plow blade. That
typically has been historically W.A. Jones, we would then pay for that out of next year's budget.
When you say lead time, you said you want to get them bid out. What's that process look like, or how long does it
That's
take?
time from order to delivery.
So you're essentially asking to order them now?
Well, we would have to take bids because of the expense.
Amount.
But within the month, or a month or so, take bids. And then, yeah, then we'd be towards the end of the year on chassis delivery. And, all the underbody and other parts that would be, a few more months out. So it would be next year's budget that we would pay for that out of.
Brandon.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Brandon, what's your goal as far as tandems versus a single axle? I mean, I know we always, in the years past, we had single axles and now we're starting to get bigger. So I just
Yeah,
wondered.
we currently have 6 tandems, and that's really nice for stockpiling the left that we use for chip sealing. Just stockpiling in general, you can get close to 18 ton on a tandem versus, 10 or 12, more like 10 or 11 on a single. So when we're stockpiling from Huntington, it's a lot nicer to use. And even when we're chip sealing, because you can, haul a little more. 6 is an okay number, but 2 of our tandems are, aged. One's in 04, one's in 05. And I know the bed on one is rusting out, having to do repairs to that. And we've had problems with transmission on the other, and they're just getting aged. So I would expect that we might possibly keep one of those, but then, just auction off the other one, keep it as a spare maybe, or if it's a rain day and we're stockpiling, if it's usable. But as far as every day, they're getting a little worn.
So, and these are the 2021 budgeted items that you're asking for us to
Well,
agree to, or for the 2022 payout?
21 is
Okay.
budgeted at 300,000, and what's in your binder is a request for 300,000 for 22. And yeah, I'm just basically and this is local road and street, which is, the actual amount's not guaranteed, but it's guaranteed money. It comes from fuel tax.
So your 4 to 5 month lead time is going to hit January, so it'll be 2022?
Well, it'll be it could be December or January, and if it falls into January for actual delivery, then I'm going to be back in January for an encumbrance to carry this year's budget money into next year.
Is this the same thing that we did a couple years ago when you bought 2 trucks at the same time, held your funds until like about this time of the year? So we're the same process. How did that play out as far as when did that come due? Do you remember?
Those, it worked out perfect. Just like we had hoped, other than the lead time on the underbody and bed, and things took a little longer. I think we ended up getting final delivery on those in about March.
Okay.
So you've not spent the 2021 request yet?
No,
You're
exactly.
saying this is 2021 and there'll be the additional 2022, but you can't order it unless you're confident that we're willing to pay for it.
Well, essentially, we've already approved
First half of it.
the first half of it. He's just asking for the commitment on what he's put in the budget for the one for next year.
Yeah, my option is to take the money that's budgeted now, bid 1 truck, or bid 2 with next year's one.
I think your plan is working out very well so far for the county.
Brandon, I have one other question for you. I see you got mowing tractor down here, mower. Is that an additional or a replacement?
Those would be replacements. Those mower tractors we bought when Jim was a commissioner. I think 02, 03, 03, 04. And so, yeah, they're getting some age. Again, this is it was a 5-year plan. Depending on how the bids come in, there's, yeah, we could go ahead and work one of those mowers in this 21, 22 cycle, possibly. I think the single axle that I had for 21, I think we're good on singles with the last two. They're relatively modern fleet.
Mr. Chairman, how do we proceed? This doesn't require a vote, does it?
No, it's pretty much just, he's asking for a consensus or actually a commitment that we're not against the project at this time, although it may not still be approved. We're just saying we're not against it and we're going to move forward and allow him to do that. And of course, the final parameter for that will be when we sit down and figure out the entire budget. But I think with what the budget looked like last year and the feedback that I've gotten and what tax base, what we're going to be collecting, I don't think that it's going to be an issue coming through next year. So until we actually sit down and finalize the budget, though, we can't make that 100% commitment to it, but it looks like it's probably 98, I would say.
Yes, for me.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Just real quick, if you don't mind, community crossings update. We took bids on 2-inch asphalt overlay on 10 miles of road yesterday. We were awarded, rounding numbers, about $600,000 for that program on that $800,000 estimated job that bid in just under $800,000. So we got 5 miles of County Road 650 West, Lincoln Lane, the Noble County line, and we got 5 miles of Raver Road from the Columbus City limits down to 500 South. So just so you know, we're getting about $600,000 through that program for that.
Brandon, how's your salt? You got some
The
saved
barn's
back?
full.
Okay.
It's full of salt and salt grit mix. And we have, they put it out in March for a commitment for the next season. We committed to 1,000 ton for the 21-22 season. And that's part of the state bid. And so, I mean, they do this obviously statewide for PennDOT and other counties, municipalities, get the best price they can, and then we, you know, we just order it as we need it. With that salt barn, it's working out really well because we're able to start the season with, we probably got about 600 ton of salt in that barn right now, plus some grit mix. So we're already ready to go.
Do you guys do the grit mix yourself?
Yes. Yep.
Saves a ton of money.
It's well, you know, you can buy mixes and you can buy, they'll spray on calcium on your grit. And I think for the most part, what we're doing is working really well. I mean, if you get one of those, when it gets, you know, below 15 or 20 for 2-3 weeks in a row, you need some sun to help that stuff out. But I think it works pretty well. It'd be nice to put straight salt on like the state does, but we can't.
Thank you, Brandon.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the advanced timekeeping system update. Jana, please.
Okay, so I did send the contract to Attorney Shipman. He reviewed it for me. He said that the contract really does not allow for a refund. So what he suggested that we do is we wait until about the end of summer, end of summer to October, and then it's a 90-day notice for the cancellation. So that gives us plenty of time for transition. And my request would be that that you guys, maybe that the commissioners do sign the agreement. That way we can get on the schedule because they do have 4 counties ahead of And by the time they get to us, it would be in that time frame anyway. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? Any questions? But that was the attorney Shipman's recommendation if we do decide to go this route. So
And that allows you enough time for the transition.
I would say 3 months should be. But I mean, because you know, you have the training and everything, but they come in for that and they do all that.
Is that an additional fee or is that included in the purchase?
I would have to double check and ask. I believe it is included, but
Well, I would recommend that we follow what's been proposed as directed by our attorney. I think last month we suggested that this transition needs to be made for the automation of the county and that we support the process. Is this also consensus or is this a vote?
This would be a vote, and that I will accept that as a motion.
Well, the long term of it is a cost savings compared to what they have right now. And it's quite a bit. It should make itself back, I would think, in what, 3 years?
Second the motion.
Do have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all board members that are present. Next item on the agenda is the Cf1 approvals for abatements.
I think we've already went through that, Mr. President.
I don't know.
Well, if I may, just to add some context, Steel Book Economic Development Corporation. Just wanted you to know that, last year, I don't know if some of you remember, there were quite a few stragglers and there was a few issues. So we had, out of our office, we'd sent each and every one of these folks a letter reminding of the due date and how to fill the form out. So we got a much better response as far as timeliness. And so Jan and I have reviewed each and every one, compared their compliance form, the CF1, to the original resolution and SB1, looked at, did they make the investment and how's their employment doing? And so a couple of them we had to tweak, we had to make a few calls, but everything that has been submitted and is before you to sign has been reviewed, and we feel that they are all in compliance. And I'm comfortable recommending, not that it's my position to do that, that the forms are in compliance that we presented to you.
And I appreciate that. And quite honestly, that's what my expectation was last year and the year before and the year before that. So to find out that that wasn't always what was going on puts me in a position, especially since I'm going to be the one that signs off on it for the council, that I'm going to have to go back through and make sure that I revet each one of them. So, and I was talking with Jan about it. I don't know that between now and the middle of June that I can have that done. I'm going to work on it very diligently, but I would hope that moving forward, for the sake of next year and the year after, that if we had a mid-June deadline, that we're going to have to get those done sooner, so we have more time to properly check that work. But I appreciate the fact that you guys put that work into it this year to make sure.
Has there been any agreements that have been terminated or come to completion in the last year?
There's a couple that are finishing this year. I don't recall exactly which ones they are, but I wasn't thinking any of them were up this year. I think the Triad had one that this is their last year, and a couple others.
Are they, so did we get 100% of them returned?
I believe we did, which was not the case for the city. And everybody got a reminder.
Good. We do appreciate that.
See in general.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway,
Do you want to know which ones are in there last year? Or does anybody?
yeah, just make me a report on that, because that'll be
Okay.
something that I'll focus on too when I go through these. I know we talked about before the meeting started, but I would look for council's support and how they want to have these forms signed.
I think the chairman or president of the council should be the one that signs it. If there is an issue with any of them that comes up on it, I think that part should be brought back to the general council to express our concerns. So I make a motion that the president, chairman, authorized to sign for the council.
I'll accept that motion. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and it was passed unanimously by all board members present. Commissioners report, please, George.
Okay, we had our commissioners meeting yesterday, had quite a long agenda, but one of the things that we brought forward was ordinance 2021-06, which was an ordinance establishing the ARP coronavirus local physical recovery grant fund. And basically what that is we're receiving within the next 2 years, we're going to get a little over $6.5 million from the federal government. And then it's for coronavirus recovery cost, which is going to be, and part of that agreement for that 6.6 million was that we came up with an ordinance and that we establish a fund, a separate fund, which is going to be the ARP Grant Fund, and it'll be year number 8904. It'll be administered by the county treasurer and the auditor, and the receipts will be deposited into that fund and then dispersed from that fund also. So what we're going to do is there are a lot of opportunities that we've got to use these funds, but we're going to have to work with council real close, especially after budget time, to determine what monies were that didn't come in because of coronavirus for last year. And this does last for 2 years, I think. To 2024 is when we can distribute that money out. But at 6.5 million, I hate to say it, but it's going to be a struggle to come up with an opportunity to use those funds. But if we don't use them, it goes back to the feds. So we have to be very careful, and the commissioners would like to work closely with council to make sure that we take advantage of everything that we can.
Did they send a guideline for the expenditures?
Yes. Guideline's pretty tight, really. To respond to public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits, or aid to impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. The next one is to respond to workers performing essential work during that COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers of the metropolitan city, non-entitlement unit of local government, or county that are performing such essential work, or by providing grants to eligible employers that have eligible workers who provide essential work. So that's a little bit flexible, but it's working. We can work with other businesses throughout the community if they provide essential work and have lost money because of that. For the provision of government services to the extent of reduction in revenue of such unit of local government for the public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent fiscal year of the local government. So basically costs like community corrections that we lost will be able to be reimbursed by this fund. That's probably the biggest cost that we'll be able to gain from this. And I hope we can find others, but also to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. And it asks that we provide a plan with the specific uses for all the monies that we're going to do. And this ordinance takes effect immediately upon the date of adoption. So we have 2 years to make sure that we use as much money as we can of that and take advantage of it. I hate to say, use as much as we can, but if it's going to go back and if it could provide benefit to us, we need to take advantage of as much as we can.
Mr. Chairman, if the commissioners are agreeable to it, I would suggest that we take the model that we did with the jail and have some commissioners and council members, some council members join with commissioners by appointment so that it's regular meetings and they keep us aware rather than just trying to cooperate.
And with the auditor and treasurer also has to be, I would ask to be involved in that also.
Is that how you foresee it going as far as setting up a group or a committee to help?
I would think so, for the simple fact that after you get through with your budgets, you're going to know from each individual department what the issues were as far as council is concerned. And they can work with commissioners and with the auditor and treasurer to make sure that we don't miss anything. There are opportunities for broadband and sewer infrastructure, another one. But I would ask that probably would be acceptable to the council, that we form a committee for that.
Okay, so are you going to start on that committee then soon?
Right away.
Okay.
And now that we've got the ordinance, we can do that.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend Kim, John, and Jim, if you want 3, because of their prior experience in finances.
and that would, and I would ask first before we go forward with that recommendation, if they're all willing.
Yes.
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 Great, thank you.
All right, anything else, George?
One other item I had was we have been working with Don Armstrong on the real estate purchase for the jail property. And we've got a little bit of a glitch with that. We were going to buy, if you remember, we're going to buy the property in a 3-year period. And it was going to be a purchase price of $300,000, $100,000 each year for 3 years. To enable him to realize some tax savings. When we talked to our bond counsel, the bond counsel said that we cannot do that. We have to purchase the land if we're going to put a jail on that, and we have to have the land in hand before we bond. So we talked to Mr. Armstrong, and he was agreeable to work with us, and he provided us with the additional cost it would be for him for his taxes, which were about $50,000, our $50,000. And so he's asking that we pay $350,000 for the land and a one-time purchase. And we as commissioners have looked at this, and we've got the appraisals out also, and the appraisals are, Mr. Armstrong gave us a great opportunity to start with this, and we're just asking for the additional $50,000 with our real estate purchase agreement.
George, I have a couple questions. On the original agreement on the purchase, were we going to pay any interest to him, or
No.
just, is there any way we can buy that and he be the mortgagee? Because we're not going to, it's going to be how long till we build?
Well, it'll be at least 24 months before we start.
Okay, so it would be putting our name with him as a mortgagee. Does that meet what Baker Tilly or bond counsel said we could do?
I'm
And
not
say,
sure on that. I can check on it. We can check on it.
because that does put it in our name with his lien. I don't know if that
Yeah,
helps.
I'm not sure. that
And
we
I'm
be
sure
able to
Don will
something.
do that also.
Yeah.
If it can save us money and him taxes. So just a question.
So would you like to table this purchase agreement then?
Or make it subject.
Hold it under contract with payment due in 3 years.
Well, I gotta have it in our name is what they're saying.
That's true.
Contract won't
Right.
do it, but a mortgage would. If
And
he
we're
deed it
working-
to us and he takes an official mortgage on it.
What's the
So I
thought?
don't know what the cost would be to provide a mortgage too. That would be,
Shouldn't be much.
What was the property's appraised value?
we had 2 appraisals done on that. The first one was for agricultural appraisal at 317.5. The second one was actually a commercial appraisal. Because we had to have a second one, we had to go to someone different there. The
That's what I was
I think it was 517 is what.
thinking. 17 acres. That's 15 acres, George.
Yes.
Memory we have.
I should have gone through here. It was 517 is what it was. I'm sorry, 520.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
One supposedly agriculture,
Yeah.
the other one's commercial.
It's $34,000 an acre.
It would be commercial, most jails.
I got some myself for that.
We still feel, as commissioners, still feel that that's a great opportunity for us. It's for the price of the land out there right now, and it's going up even right now. That was done probably 2 years ago. Those 2 appraisals will be available if anybody wants to look at those after the meeting.
So you're able to do an average of the 2 appraisals is what you could purchase the land for, even though they're so vastly different.
Well, one was actually, it wasn't a commercial appraiser, but we couldn't find another appraiser, so we went to agricultural appraiser for the second appraisal, because we thought that we should have at least something.
Jim, I have a question for Jim. Jim, by doing that mortgage deal, how much do you think that would save?
Well, if he doesn't charge us any interest and we're able to do the same terms, it'd be no different than a contract, except it would be put in our name and he files a mortgage, which isn't hard to do and I don't think would be very costly. But it does officially put it in our name. If we would default, then he'd have all grounds to foreclose on us. And it would protect him, but I don't know if bond counsel would allow that. If we could get at least 2 years, that's still 2 more years of savings on taxes. And that, but just a thought.
With the caveat that that mortgage possibility be pursued, I see no reason in delaying the decision to spend the money if necessary.
And I can check right away on the, talk to Don and I'll talk to bond counsel first. We're using Ice Miller is who we're using for bond counsel on this.
What would be if the time frame potentially is to build in 2 years? When would that property have to be titled to the county? Now?
Don would like the property titled right away because we'll still have to do some PELs, which is our environmental studies. We're going to have to make sure that we do soil testing. There's a lot of things that we have to do. And the architect that we deal with is going to have to work with that too. So, and I'm just saying that 18 to 24 months that we'll probably start. And that's probably only because of the fact that we can't get materials right now.
And at what point would the bond application go in? As soon as possible, or as soon as this due diligence is completed?
Yeah, the bond application will go in as soon as we get the real estate purchase agreement done. And we have Baker Tilly right now that is actually going to do a 5-year program for us. And that was something we were going to bring to you also. But Baker Tilly didn't have it yesterday for us. But what we're asking them to do is with redevelopment, we actually have Baker Tilly go through, which is an accounting firm, go through and take a look at if we bond this with the income tax, how much can we afford and how does it affect us for the next 5 years? And so in talking to them, they said that we could actually take that money from this coronavirus funds to do that. So it's going to be about $30,000, but we'll be able to take that from those funds. But Baker Tilly is going to have to
30,000 or 30 million
30,000, right?
right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the only thing I could think of mortgage if they need it in our name and debt free now. But you're doing an application for a bond, not the actual bond.
Right.
So they just see if we're qualified and so forth. So
Baker Tilly's going through that once Baker Tilly, and they're actually working with Lisa Lee at Ice Miller right now. And because we don't even know, we can't determine how big the jail is going to be or what we're going to put in the jail without knowing how much we can bond for. And we're planning on paying off this building before we put the second bond on. We're not going to have 2 bonds at the same time.
What do we still owe on this building, George?
I think it's like 500,000 maybe.
While she's looking that up, also remind us where the 300,000 and now 350,000 is going to come
That
from,
would come from the jail funds.
and what's in that account now.
1.9 last I saw. And we're using that monies also to offset the total price when we get going on the jail. So we may be able to bond for 28 million for the jail, but we're going to need 32 million. By the time we get through building the jail, we'll have another 4 million available.
How much money have we accumulated in that account and how old is it? Well, 1.9 million, how long?
It's 1.9. It's only been a year, hasn't it? Well, it's got to be a little over a year for 1.9.
That was, I was
Because we've
in the
taken
chair's
300,000.
position then, so it's been at least 2 years.
We've taken, the only thing we've taken out of that is 200,000 for community corrections.
On that note, George, is the plan still to move that down at the jail when that time comes?
Yes.
And there'll be work to have to be done down there.
Yes,
to make it suitable to,
right.
and to sell that one out there.
Yeah, we've got, Matthew 25 would like to purchase the community corrections that we have and the hotel. And they're willing to put in monies now to bring it up to code and to put a kitchen in there, so that they wouldn't have to wait to go into the building and have it refurbished
So while
afterwards.
we're still using the building, they're willing to put in improvements.
Yeah.
Pending a signed purchase agreement with them.
And we do have a memorandum of understanding with them on what we're going to do and what our, it doesn't tie us to anything, but at least it shows them that we have good faith in going forward on this.
Or you probably don't know, but do you have some kind of a dollar figure, what it's gonna cost to make the gel in? So work release could move into that, what we're gonna have to do to make it.
Right now, what we're planning on doing is taking just the administrative part and not doing anything with the cells, to be honest. We're gonna take the administrative part and it won't cost that much. We have to demolish the inside walls because the outside walls are the structural walls on that building. And we'll put new office areas in there. We'll probably have to put in a new security system for the door. And then we'll do some facade work just to make it look nice.
Quite a project.
Yeah, and we are asking, the mayor's been asked to help with this project too. And I think they're behind us. I'm not sure what that means, but
Is the parking gonna be a problem for the work release if you move it here?
it very well could be, because we still use it for the courthouse. That may be something we should look at the same time that we do the jail at that point, because there are some opportunities for properties to purchase. But I think it's a great opportunity to not get rid of that jail and put community corrections in there. We'll also probably put probation in there. We'll rearrange probation. Dispatch will go out to the new jail. Then we'll have a small area for a magistrate also.
I have one other question for you, then I'll leave you alone.
No, that's okay.
Is the city willing to put any money in this new jail since they use it? I mean, why does the county pay for it all and then
They've been approached by us, and that's exactly what we've told them, that, we don't charge them a thing for the jail when they use it. And
So the city people are paying tax dollars to the county also.
Yeah.
Right,
The city's in the county, just the same as
Right,
Cherubusco and South Whitley and Larwell and.
but it's within the city that we're actually putting the new jail, and it was just asked that because of the fact that it's going to be within the city, we've asked them to work with us as much as they can with infrastructure. Basically, it'd be sewer, water, and electric is what we're asking. And whether they work with us on that or how they help us, we would like to make them a part of this.
Yes, go right ahead, you found it.
Okay, yeah. So, August of this year, when we make the payment, we will have, 1,205,000 remaining, what we will still owe. So we will pay it off in February of 2024. And the cash balance in the jail, just so you can be aware, it is $2,249,251 as of today.
Cash balance of the jail debt.
Yeah, the jail.
Jail time.
We'll probably be coming to council to ask for, to use seeded funds to help pay this building off. We've been accumulating cedar funds.
How much was the bond amount on the building yet?
What's
Million.
left?
$1,400,000,
$1,400,000.
$1,200,000.
Oh, as of today.
Thank you.
Well, the question at hand then is for the request for an additional $50,000 to purchase the land. So are we back to that? Are you still have we come to an agreement that you're going to check something and bring this back to us? I guess I've forgotten where we went with that avenue.
We've been putting down off for this long that I would like, if you would approve it to, subject to us talking to Ice Miller and Don Armstrong on their opportunity to put a mortgage on the building.
Or a purchase not to exceed 200 or 350,000.
Right.
The motion,
Motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. Let it be shown that I voted against and everybody else was for.
Thank you. Other than that, we just approved the corporate challenge team again for next year for the YWCA or the YMCA challenge that they have for the city, then the county, and that was $500. We took that out of seeded funds, and that was about it. Any questions?
No. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Next item on the agenda are the minutes from May 4th. Has everyone had a chance to review those? And I would ask at this time, are there any additions or corrections as they were presented?
Make a motion to approve them as written.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same, and let it be shown it's passed unanimously with all board members that are present. The only other thing that I have today as a reminder, next week, the 16th, 8 a.m. Is that next week? Yeah.
Yep.
We will meet here at 8 a.m. for the, to go over the budget with the department heads. Councilman Barrett?
Have nothing.
Nothing.
Just the personnel committee did meet again. And that was yesterday. Nothing to share at this point. Some things will be reflected in our budget discussion.
I have none.
And I have nothing else. We are adjourned.